Romeo and Juliet, Act 1, Scene 1. Shakespeare wrote in a time when humanist ideals from the Renaissance spread all over Europe. It was a cultural and intellectual movement that emphasized human potential to attain excellence. And this was achieved by the direct study of the literature, art, and civilization of classical Greece and Rome. As this ancient period was regarded as the pinnacle of human excellence. This is why Romeo and Juliet, among many other Shakespeare plays, are saturated with allusions to Greco-Roman mythology. To illustrate this flourishing of the classics, consider the epitaph that Shakespeare's good friend and fellow playwright Ben Jonson wrote at the time of Shakespeare's death. Here is just a portion of that. He was not of an age, but for all time. And all the muses still were in their prime, when, like Apollo, he came forth to warm our ears, or like a Mercury to charm. This entire epitaph is fraught with allusions to classical antiquity. In Act 1, Scene 1, the nobility or upper class show their status and their education by making allusions to Greco-Roman mythology. Montague speaks of the morning with the goddess of dawn, Aurora, as the all-cheering sun should in the furthest east begin to draw the shady curtains of Aurora's bed. The goddess is also mentioned as a foreshadowing device. Romeo's romantic doom, which will cause Montague to lose his son, is alluded to with this mention of Aurora. For Shakespeare's audiences would have known of Aurora's romances, which ended tragically. Shakespeare's use of mythological characters helped the audience easily relate to the characters on the stage, making them immediately recognizable. When Romeo describes Rosaline as being like the goddess of the moon, Diana, Shakespeare's audience immediately understood Rosaline's state of mind. This character was also very familiar to them in the image of their queen, Elizabeth. In Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, he imagines an encounter between Cupid and Elizabeth. A certain aim he took at a fair vestal throned by the west, and loosed his love shaft smartly from his bow, as it should pierce 100,000 hearts. But I might see, and here Shakespeare is referring to the fact that Queen Elizabeth may never marry, but I might see young Cupid's fiery shaft quenched in the chaste beams of a watery moon, and the imperial votress passed on in maiden meditation, fancy free. In Act 1, Scene 1, Romeo speaks of Cupid in a dangerous way. From love's weak childish beau, she lives uncharmed. Shakespeare's audiences would have known here that Romeo, like Apollo, is courting disaster. For according to mythology, Apollo constantly ridiculed Cupid, mentioning how small the god is and how small his arrows are. So one day in revenge, Cupid shot a golden arrow to Apollo's heart, which represents love, and a lead arrow, which represents hate, to the nymph Daphne. And this dynamic, like the dynamic between Romeo and Rosaline, just led to Apollo chasing after Daphne and Daphne running away. So we see that not only in this scene, but throughout the entire play of Romeo and Juliet, and throughout many of Shakespeare's plays, that he is a true Renaissance man. And he was true to its ideals, that of a rediscovery of the ancient world.